All right, we're live. What's up, folks? Got a special
Hello,
guest on tonight,
everybody.
Doc Angel. She's joining me tonight, and this is just another mad broadcast hangout, fellas and ladies. All right, what do we got in the house? We got Pilgrim Prepper. What's up? Sandy, Jim Shady, Dave Lee, Caitlin Elm. All right, glad to have you here.
Hey, chat.
Um, Kind of a shitty weekend for me, weather-wise. It was pretty much raining all day today. Number one. On top of that, I ended up working yesterday, so I never worked my Sundays, but I was on a swap with another coworker, so I went in and worked for him. And so basically, my weekend was one day, and that was today, folks. And I woke up to a very shitty, rainy day, but I made the best of it. It cleared up a little bit. I went out into the garden. I dug up some potatoes. Went out and grabbed myself a steak at the market, and I had some homemade French fries and a porterhouse steak for supper. So I just hung out at the outpost all day long, and tonight we're on up on the deck. Dusty Country Road. What's up, Willow? Hello. All right.
Hello, everyone.
So how's your weekend, Doc Angel?
Well, I spent a lot of Saturday putting together that intro. That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, go to the gym with my daughter,
Okay.
cook out,
Nice.
spend time with the fam.
That's what it's all about.
Very laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Laid back. You got to do those things. Have that healthy balance in life. You know. So
absolutely.
takes that healthy balance takes away from the doom and gloom of what's happening in the world, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of it, unfortunately. So,
yeah, it does. It does.
you know,
Thank you, Jim. Hi, Jim. Hi, Pilgrim, Willow, Dusty, Caitlin, David.
all right.
How's we at? Sandy. I didn't miss anybody today.
No, I don't think so. I think we got everybody so far.
All
Usually there'll be
right.
more people showing up. So, what's going on in everybody else's neck of the woods out in the world? Uh, what are you guys seeing? Anything to report? Anything you guys want to share in the chat? Fire away.
Hey, Forrest.
What's up, Forrest?
Saw a lot of chemtrails in the sky yesterday. I
You
guess
know
that's
what?
nothing new, though.
You bring up a good point. I saw a lot of military aircraft this week, and I see it pretty much, I would say, on a regular basis, but there was a lot this week, and I always see it from the prison yard um, where I work. And I saw C-130s. I saw Black Hawk helicopters. What else did I see? I think those were the two types that I saw flying over. But yeah, it was heavy traffic. It was. Well, I worked a 3 to 11 shift, so they were flying low between 3 and 4 o'clock. Um,
Yeah, it was the afternoon when they were all over the
Wednesday
sky.
or Thursday, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, I mean, again, I've been working in that prison yard for a while, and I'm always looking up in the skies, and I have never seen the amount of military aircraft that I've been seeing lately. So it's definitely something to
That's a
pay
scary
attention
thought.
to, I guess. Considering what's going on everywhere in the world, um, all over the place. I mean, being on the brink of World War III and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we're going to jump into it. I think you're going to like tonight's topic that we're going to jump into, our discussion. All right. And I always like to lead off with a couple of, current events and news stories that I like to pluck out of the news. Um, So, speaking of being on the brink of World War III, who heard about the two Navy service members that got arrested this week on suspicion of sending military secrets to China? Guys, hear about that? Did you hear about that, Dark Angel?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So basically, the long and short of it is that two Navy service members were arrested. They're both of they're both Chinese men. Okay. Um, and it's exactly it. They was charged with suspicion of sending military secrets to Chinese military intelligence officers.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. So the first individual, I'm going to try to pronounce his name right. Patrick Patrick Way. He was charged with conspiracy to send national defense information to intelligence officers over in China. All right. Basically, he was tasked with providing information related to U.S. Navy warships. Okay. And
Good
this
God.
guy is actually stationed on a U.S. Navy warship. All right. So he was picked up for that, charged with that conspiracy. Um, Basically, he was sending information of the weapon systems. Okay, and he was sending not only the weapon system information of his own ship that he was on, but he was also sending locations of other U.S. Navy warships. Okay, to the Chinese Communist Party.
My goodness.
So there's
And
that.
who knows, like, what other intel they've already gotten from him, too.
Well, apparently, according to the article, they've been investigating both of these individuals for over a year now. All right. So there's that. So I said there was two cases, and according to this second case, they're saying that these two cases are not related. Perhaps they're not. I don't know. I'm just going by what the news is putting out here. And again, as I always do, my sources will be put in the description box at the bottom of the video. The second individual, Thomas Zhao, he was charged for receiving bribes in exchange for sending information to Chinese intelligence officials. All right. Let's put that up there. Yeah, I don't know about that, Jim. They oughta. I know Thomas Zhao here, he's looking at 20 years. What's up, prepping artists?
Well, didn't death used to be the punishment for treason?
Yeah, death by firing squad.
Yep.
They still do it, actually. It's just we don't really hear about it anymore, but it's technically still on the books.
Right? Yep, that's what I thought.
For not only military tribunals, but also for civilian. Fun fact, and I'm sure Jim Shady can probably jump in and concur on this. If you are a death row inmate, okay, here in the United States, and there is more than one option of being executed, guess what? You can choose. You can choose between lethal injection, the firing squad. I believe, actually, Dark Angel, I believe your state still has hangings.
Oh my goodness. You're probably right.
I did read that somewhere. They still allow execution by hanging. I don't know if anybody chooses that still, but
it sounds like a horrible way to go.
Yeah. So there's that.
New Hampshire's got some weird laws in the books.
I bet they do. Constitutional College. What's up? So anyway, moving on with this. Thomas Zhao, charged with receiving bribes for in exchange for sending information to Chinese officials. One of these exchanges involved his alleged handover of operations plans for a major U.S. military exercise in the Indo-Pacific region. Right. This included locations and timings of movement of the naval forces for this exercise. That was provided, and that was handed over to the Chinese intelligence. And like I just said, Mr. Zhao faces 20 years in prison for that. So there you go, guys. That's just one other Chinese-related news story to put on the plate and add onto the pile of what I've been preaching every week, pretty much, in regards to what we talked about, the Chinese biolab that was discovered last week. That was in the news. Chinese nationals are infiltrating our borders on a daily basis. Who knows what's going on with that? The Chinese biolab that was discovered in California is pretty much one example of what is happening.
Yeah, and I would like to add too, what other country allows a foreign entity to more or less set up shop in their country and set up bioweapons labs and buy up all the farmland and set up communist police stations? Like, this is crazy.
You know what, Doc Angel? What kind of country? I'll tell you what, the kind of country that is pretty much in the pocket or is owned by the Chinese.
Yep.
And sadly and unfortunately, that's us,
That is.
And, you got to take a look at Doc Brandon, Ice Cream Man, Sniffer God in Chief, fucking whatever you want to call him.
Houseplant.
Yeah, houseplant, right? It's been reported that, and don't take it from me, just look at what is being reported in the news, that he's accepting bribes from the Chinese government. So, I mean, they must have some kind of, they must have some kind of dirt on them. Okay. They must have something pretty disturbing on this guy for what we are seeing that's happening, what's allowed to be happening in this country in the past couple of years. All right. And that's not only with China, but that's also with the conflict that's happening over in Ukraine. All right. And, not to jump too far off the reservation here, there's a lot of, his son is in the news, okay, in regards to the bribes or the money that has been exchanging hands between the Ukrainians and his son. I mean, it's right there in black and white. So perhaps the reason why we keep sending this money and these weapons over to Ukraine and our very soft as baby shit stance on China, maybe it's because both of these governments have something on Biden. Who knows? So there's that. Yeah, Jim Shady, I like that too.
That's cute.
All right. How about we talk? We jump into a little police state news. Why do I say police state? Does anybody here follow or are fans of woke? I mean, here I am twisting my words again. NASCAR. I want to say woke car for some reason. I don't know why. It came out. NASCAR. Anybody see that news with one of their drivers, Noah Gragson? He was suspended indefinitely. All right. And the reason why he was suspended? For liking a meme on social media.
Oh, I think I saw that. Oh, was that the George Floyd meme?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll actually, that's actually going to go in my description box as well. For anybody that follows me on Twitter, I actually liked the same meme and I reposted it. So it was nice for those of you that I work with that are on this stream. It was nice working with you guys. It's been fun, but this is the America we live in, guys. Basically, people's careers are getting fucking wrecked because they are liking memes on social media. This is the America we're living in. Chew on that for a second and just think about that. All right. Yeah, Caitlin, no, that's basically what it comes down to. It's according to this release, it was a meme that pretty much made light of Mr. Floyd's death on social media. And apparently a bunch of people took screenshots showing Noah Gragson appearing to like the meme that mocked Floyd's death. All right. So now that gets out there and NASCAR is informed. NASCAR turns around and notifies Noah Gragson and his team, like, hey, listen, you're done. That's that. But before they let him go, they pretty much what I call held him hostage. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at all of these other celebrities, okay, and all these other athletes that have basically took it upon themselves to think freely, right? And, exercise their right of free speech and then get chastised for it and put on blast for it. And when I say held hostage, you see them on TV giving this fucking bullshit statement how they're apologizing. All right, how many times have we seen it? Drew Brees comes to mind, the retired football quarterback. There was a pitcher in Major League Baseball. You guys put it in the comments if you want. This happened too. He made a statement about what was it, that baseball team out in San Francisco there. I'm not a baseball guy, so I don't know. Something about Pride Month. He made a comment about that. So he was pretty much put on blast about it. But here's the thing. These sports teams or MLB or NASCAR or NBA, NFL, they get a hold of these individuals and they hold them hostage and they force them to apologize. And what these guys do in order to save their livelihoods is they bend their fucking knee and they say, all right, yeah, I'm sorry. So Gragson said in a statement that he was disappointed in himself for his lack of attention and actions on social media and that he understands the severity of the situation. So there you go. He says, I messed up, plain and simple. All right. So this is basically because he was caught liking the meme. He had to apologize for it. And this is what he has to come out and say, because this is what NASCAR told him to say. All right. So what was he suspended for? Well, they're saying here he was suspended for violating its member conduct policy. All right. So there you go, guys. 25 years old, Noah Gragson, first year in NASCAR. I think he's had one top 10 finish this season. For those of you guys that do follow NASCAR, I think he's like 33rd in points. So he's having a decent year for his first year in the Cup Series. And his career is pretty much destroyed over for liking a meme. All right. This is the America we live in, guys. Okay.
It's so sad.
What's up, City Prepper? David Lee. LA Dodgers. Was it the Dodgers, Dave? Yeah, I knew it was one of those teams out in here I go, twisting my words, California.
I call it California too.
Oh, yeah. I think I meant to say
hey,
that. Right?
Pilgrim.
Perfect point, Jim Shady. Right? This is happening on a weekly basis, and it's been going on for quite some time now.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a couple stories coming out about looking at your comment here, Jim. Said that he edited his video and he caved. Apparently, the footage that Jason Aldean used in his video was copyright protected, and Fox News, I believe it was, made him take it down.
Yeah, it was Fox News.
That's what they're saying. So I don't know if it was all Dean caving or if it was actually like a legit legal issue. Who knows? Who knows? So, but yeah, this is today's society. Um, you know, you can't like things on social media, and if you do, you're at risk of pretty much ruining your livelihood over it. All right. So we live under the illusion, excuse me, that we live in a free country. All right. Let's make no mistake about it. That's a prime example right there. Okay. Um, it's an illusion of freedom, folks. And that's just my opinion. All right. If you disagree, you disagree. That's fine. I get it. But this is where we're at right now in today's America. Okay. You have to be politically correct. You have to, the words that come out of your mouth better be following the narrative. And if it goes against that narrative or goes against that agenda, shame on you. You know, you're fired. Your life, you pretty much, you just wrecked your life, you know. So it's a sad state of affairs. Yeah. I don't know.
Same.
Yeah. And I mean, shit, I could make a whole video about the other guy, you know, and about all the fucking shit that they're putting him through. And that, again, that's another example of where we're at in this country. Political opponents are being locked up or indicted or whatever you want to call it. They're trying very hard to put this man behind bars. Okay. And it's because he is anti-establishment. Right.
Yep.
So that's what it comes down to.
You know, they're like trying to destroy him, trying to destroy his reputation, smear his name, jail him. It's absolutely horrible what they're doing to him.
Yeah. And it's, what are they up to? Like 74, 75 counts of criminal charges. It's incredible. So there you go, guys. This is an example of the deep state operatives within our own government. And if you think that our own government is not infiltrated by deep state operatives, then you need to wake up, because what I'm about to jump into right now next is going to paint a large picture of what our government has been up to, what they're capable of, and how they can go against you, as far as persecuting you, you know. And if you think that it ends at Donald Trump, then you're wrong, because if they can do it to him, they can do it to us. All right. So I want to jump into our discussion topic for tonight, guys. And that's Operation Northwoods. How many of you guys in these comments have heard of Operation Northwoods? All right. Y for yes, N for no. Simple. You don't have to um, tell a whole story about it. Just if you've heard about Operation Northwoods, let us know in the comments. Okay. Guys, what would you say if I said that the US government has no problem with plotting to kill its own citizens? Well, shit, Matt Outdoorsman, I'd say you're crazier than a shithouse rat. Well, I mean, what would you say if I said it actually did happen? If it really, there was a time or times that the U.S. government had no problem with staging terrorist attacks, against its own citizens. Well, let's jump into Operation Northwoods. So, Operation Northwoods, guys, was a proposed false flag operation that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense of the U.S. government back in 1962. Yeah, Forrest, that has. You're absolutely right. I had just learned about this. Right, I never heard of Operation Northwoods ever. I saw an article about it, and I did a deep dive into the article, and I was sick to my fucking stomach after I did the research. Tyler, I'm just gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that comment right there. I'm not even gonna say anything because you're hitting the nail on the head. All right. So yeah, back to Operation Northwoods, proposed false flag operation that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense back in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA operatives to both stage and commit acts of terrorism against American military and civilian targets, blaming them on the Cuban government. Okay. Now, back in 1962, we knew that President John F. Kennedy was our president. Okay. We also have learned through history that the Cuban Missile Crisis was going on. It was basically the Cold War was kicking off between the U.S. and Russia and communist countries like Russia, right? So why in the world would the U.S. government pretty much stage acts of terrorism against the American military and blame them on the Cuban government? Well, number one, if they do this, these false flag operations would be used to justify war against Cuba, number one. So they wanted to go to war against Cuba. They wanted the American public to have a reason for us to justify going to war against Cuba. Okay. And what wouldn't be a good excuse to go to war against the Cuban government with, having these false flag attacks happen? All right. So what kind of false flags are we talking about here to create this public support for a war against Cuba? A fabricated shoot down of a U.S. Air Force fighter aircraft off the coast of Cuba was one proposed example. So basically what they were going to do was they were going to take an airplane, they were going to paint the airplane to make it look like a U.S. fighter jet, and then they were going to remote control fly it off of the coast of Cuba and shoot it down to make it look like the Cuban government shot down one of our airplanes. Okay, so there's that. That was one proposition.
Then that was one of the elements of it, Jim.
Yeah. Then they were talking about the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants. All right. And how are they going to do that? Well, they were going to sink boats of Cuban refugees right there on the high seas, So, and they were going to make it look like the Cuban government did it. All right. So there's that. Another proposition they were talking about blowing up a U.S. warship, okay, orchestrating terrorist attacks in U.S. cities, all right, which includes bombings, mass shootings, whatever you want to call it. Then they were talking about real or simulated actions against various U.S. military and civilian targets, right? Probably goes hand in hand with orchestrating the terrorist attacks in U.S. cities. And then they were talking about conducting a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami, Florida area and in other Florida cities, and even in Washington, D.C. Okay. And again, the goal of the operation was to paint a false flag or a false image, I'm sorry, of Fidel Castro and misinform the American public, which in turn would get, the U.S. public support so we can go to war with Cuba. All right. So there you go. Fidel Castro, everybody pretty much knows him. He took power in Cuba back in 1959. And our beef with him was that he began allowing communists into the Cuban government. Okay. He also became very friendly with the Soviet Union. Okay. Um, their relations improved greatly when Fidel Castro took power. So there you go. That turned into the Cuban Missile Crisis. And we all know what happened with that. The Cuban Missile Crisis was basically Cuba allowed Russia or the Soviet Union to have missile batteries 90 miles off the coast of the continental United States. And, our government and our citizens at the time had a huge problem with that. So who the hell will come up with a plan like this? You got to think about it. Like, I go back to the question that I asked at the top of this discussion. Would our government really set the stage for attacks on their own citizens? Who in our government would do it? Would it be the president? Would it be members of Congress? Would it be both? Folks, we're not talking about extremist groups here that operate here within our borders. Okay. We're talking about our own U.S. government that concocted this plan to carry out all these attacks that I just illustrated against our citizens and our military. Okay. I agree, Pilgrim. Folks, the plan was drafted and authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Okay. And who are the Joint Chiefs of Staff? They're the body of the most senior uniformed leaders within the U.S. Department of Defense. Okay. Guys, these are the people that advise the President of the United States regarding military matters. That's the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Okay. And at the time, back in 1962, Operation Northwoods, okay, with the support of the CIA, okay, along with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, orchestrated this operation to take place. Okay. So now this plan's being orchestrated, and now it's being presented to President Kennedy. Okay. How do you think that worked out? Well, Kennedy, number one, he rejected the plan. He said, there is no fucking way I'm allowing this to happen. All right. I don't know what you guys smoked for your breakfast today, but we are not going to carry out attacks against our own people, just to justify going to war against Cuba. All right. So Kennedy rejected the plan. All right. And as a result of that, none of those false flag operations came into fruition. Okay. And it was pretty much shelved. So following the presentation of our Operation Northwoods, Kennedy removed General Lemnitzer as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. All right. So there's that. General Lemnitzer at the time was the top guy, of next to Kennedy, who brought him this idea. All right. So in a nutshell, guys, that's Operation Northwoods. All right. That became public information back in 2001 after the release of a book. Not really quite sure. I'm going to link it in my article. I'm going to link it in my description box. You guys can read the article in its entirety. It's very interesting. I just picked out the main points of it. So there's that. And then what happened a year later to Kennedy? He was assassinated, right? And who was to blame for Kennedy's assassination? That three-letter agency that was mentioned in this article. So there you go, guys. All right. False flag operation that could have easily been carried out by our own government. You know. So I don't know, Doc Angel. It's pretty scary shit if you ask me.
It is. And at the time, nobody would have suspected it would have been the government.
No, absolutely not. So you got to take that point in history and move forward with it up into present day. And look at all of the events that has taken place in this country and abroad that involved U.S. military action. You know, the Gulf of Tonkin event is a prime example, and that's basically the Gulf of Tonkin event is what kicked off the Vietnam War. It was a fabricated assault on a U.S. Navy ship over there in Vietnam, right? So, and some people can point to other false flags and question, like, if this really happened, if the government was involved. And a lot of people bring up 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, you and me, we were talking about this in the backstage before we came on.
Yep.
You know, there are a lot of questions that come up from that. You know, there are people saying that the planes, and this is some deep rabbit hole shit right here, but I'm just going by what people have asked and what people have proclaimed, that, you know, those planes up in the sky that flew into those buildings weren't really there. You know, people have questioned if those planes were really there or not. You know, they could have been projections. You know, other people are asking, well, maybe those buildings blew up. You know, maybe bombs were planted inside those buildings.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, people ask about the Pentagon. You know, where was the plane wreckage when the Pentagon blew up? You know, there's videos out there of something that looks other than an aircraft hitting the Pentagon. You know, and again, these are just questions that people are asking. Yeah. I'm not coming out and saying that this really is the case, you know, because I know, number one, the platform are on here. You know, they'll take this video down in the New York fucking Minute if I come out and say that 9/11 was a false flag. You know, I'm just saying what people are asking. You know, there's a lot of people asking questions out there about that. You know? Yeah,
I've heard.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Yep. I was going to say I've heard a lot of theories too about the possibility of the hijackers being, you know, part of one of the three-letter agencies. I mean, there's just so many questions surrounding it.
There's a ton of questions, you know, like for instance, one of the passports of the hijackers was found perfectly intact in the rubble of one of the World Trade Centers. I mean, there are so many examples.
Yeah.
Which leads to these questions, right? And, you know, going back to what we discussed here about Operation Northwoods, I wouldn't put it past the U.S. government to fabricate or concoct some kind of story or an event to harm their own citizens just so they can achieve some fucking bullshit political goal. And that's what it is, guys. It's basically, why would the U.S. government do it? I just answered it. You know, it's to achieve a political goal. You know, it's all about politics.
Yeah.
And we're at their expense. Okay. So there you go.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah, Forrest, you're right. You know, it's all wars have been created. Yeah, absolutely. They're behind everything. You know. So now that we're on the topic of false flags, I'm gonna put you on a little bit of a spot, Doc Angel. I'm going to ask you what you think the next major false flag event could be in this country. And I asked the same question to the chat.
I have
What does
so many theories. I
fire
wonder, like,
away?
all right, another virus, alien invasion, nuclear war, um, we're being invaded. Like the list goes on and on.
No, it does. You're right. And we're on
Yeah.
the same page. That's for sure.
It's like, how are they going to hit us? What are they going to do next?
I'm gonna say I've been singing this song, and I really think it's going to be in the form of a grid down event. All right, there's going to be an attack on our power grid that's going to cause a total blackout. Okay, in this country, coast to coast, and that total blackout is going to, because of the chaos that's going to ensue, it's basically going to bring in a new way of doing things here. Okay. And what am I referring to? I'm referring to another 3-letter organization that everybody is well aware of, and that's the WEF. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. They have pretty much come out, and these are their words. They have come out and said that the next event will be a cyber attack on our grid. And it's going to make the C-19 pandemic look like a little minor disturbance. That's in the words of Klaus Schwab. Okay, yeah, I mentioned his name on here
Yeah.
because those are his words. He
Yeah.
came out and said it. Guys, and that's the thing. These people are freely. They're not even hiding anymore. They're coming out and fucking saying what they're gonna do next. All right, there's books written on it.
In that
You know what I'm
article,
saying?
wasn't it Klaus Schwab's daughter that came out and said that the next one is going to be climate lockdowns?
Yep, she's mentioned that.
Yep.
It's so I really believe that it's going to be a grid down attack, and of course, Doc Brandon has to soften the blow to the American public by coming out and saying that these attacks will be carried out by Russia supporting right-wing extremists. That was in the news this past spring.
Yeah.
So everybody remembers him saying that. So there you go. They're going to target the energy grid. And here's a scary thing about our energy grid, guys. It's very vulnerable and open to attacks. There's reports out there that suggest that all it would take to cause a nationwide blackout is the destruction of just 9 key power stations. 9. Not 19, not 90. 9. 9 power stations. That's all it would take to cause a blackout. All right. And on top of that, it doesn't even have to be a physical attack. Okay. It could be some asshole sitting behind a computer, fucking around on a keyboard that could carry this attack out. That's the scary part of it. Okay. All right. Not a lot of people are aware of that. All they're gonna do is hack into these substations and shut them down. All right. Right as they're sitting behind a computer screen, and their boxer shorts or whatever, eating their hot pockets or whatever. I mean, this is how easily it could happen. All right. In my opinion, this illness, okay, that happened, that you know what I'm alluding to. I think that was a test run, Doc Angel. I mean, I think you can agree. I think everybody here could agree that this illness was probably a test run to see how
Absolutely.
the American public would react to it. And we saw the draconian measures that were put into place, okay, especially in blue states, where people basically were brought to their knees to comply, right? So there's that, But the thing is, this biological attack that I like to call it, because that's what it was. I mean, let's just call it for what it is here. All right. I'm sure I'm going to catch
Amen.
a strike. But again, I'm just speaking truth here. I mean, let's think
Yeah,
about it. It it
absolutely.
was a biological attack,
Hmm.
right or wrong. I mean, let's just call it for what it is.
Absolutely.
Um, it basically didn't really get the job done. All right, this is what the WEF was hoping for. They thought that this was going to be the game changer. Excuse me, to rein in the new world order. Um, but they didn't. It didn't go completely as planned. And again, his words, Klaus Schwab, he stated himself that C-19 would be a small disturbance in comparison to a grid takedown. Okay. And I really do. I believe that a grid takedown would be the method that they would use to transition into a new world government. Okay.
Oh,
And
everybody would lose their minds in a grid
that's,
down.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You know, because now the people that are not prepared would be at the mercy of the government, right? They want the
Yep.
government to come in and save them. So there's that. All right. I don't know what everybody else thinks on here about that, but that's just my 2 cents on it. I think that a grid down will be the next false flag event that will take place in this country. The long and short of it, it'll be blamed on Russia. It could be blamed on China, North Korea, Iran. You pick it,
I can see
and
that.
it will be orchestrated by our own government. I really adamantly feel that could happen. All right. And who knows? Maybe Russia, China, and all those other countries I just mentioned, maybe they will be the legit culprits. Perhaps they will be. I'm not saying that they won't, but I'm also saying that the US government could carry out these attacks and blame it on them and get the American public to believe that to throw shade on those guys and to take the heat off of their own asses.
You know what, Mad? I think that that's very, very plausible. Also, they would need to rally the American people to get their support behind a war because the U.S. military is down. People are not volunteering and drafting like they did remember 9/11? People would go and leave their jobs and go and volunteer to go into the armed forces because, we thought we were getting attacked and we got attacked, you know? So I think that's very plausible.
Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
Prepper Nation put out. Did you see his video the other day about the draft? The
Yes,
possibility of
I did.
He's on point.
Oh, 100%.
And if John Davis happens to be lurking or catching a replay, John, you're on point, brother. I really do adamantly feel that there will be a draft. Okay. And let's look at that for a second. What's that going to look like? I mean, look at the typical fighting age American male. And yes, I'm going to pick on the age group here, 18 years old to 30 years old. How patriotic are you? Think the vast majority of them are patriotic and are ready for military service? Or do
No.
you, do you think that the vast majority of that group are sitting there at home, living at their parents' house, eating fucking Hot Pockets and playing on their friggin' Xboxes? You know,
Yeah.
it's this generation isn't like the World War II generation, what we call the greatest generation. Okay,
Uh-uh.
it's a totally different genre now. All right.
You want to know the scary thing about that generation is years from now, they're going to be the ones in power, but they were all the kids that ate Tide Pods. Like, that's terrifying.
True. Yeah, I mean, it's a scary thought. I mean, the numbers show it. You know, I'm not just. It's don't take my word for it. Just look at the numbers. Look at the statistics that are out there. The recruitment goals for every branch of service is down. They can't recruit anybody. You know, um, and for those of the people that they are recruiting, and I've said this in past videos before, the military is more focused on fucking woke policies than preparing their soldiers to fight in future wars to protect our country. You know, so there you go. And I have two kids right now that are of military age. You know, they're in their 20s. And the thought of them getting drafted to go off and fight in a conflict that we have no business being a part of is fucking bullshit. You know, I know that if that happens and my kids get that draft notice and they have to go off to Ukraine, all right, and pretty much enter the fucking meat grinder for a bullshit cause, I'm telling you right now, I ain't gonna let that happen. All right, they can lock my ass up. I don't give a fuck. I can do a bid. So
I'm not
there's
either.
that. You
Nope.
know.
And I have two boys military age, and I'm telling you right now, if they came to my house, they would literally have to kill me. They're not taking my boys. No way.
Um, I'll tell you what. My kids want to fight to protect this country. The Chinese, the North Koreans, the Russians, you name them, they would have to be landing on our fucking beaches.
Yep.
Okay, for me to support my kids to go out and fight in the war. They'd have to be landing on our fucking beaches. All right. And I would even jump into the fight. So there's that. You know,
Same.
so,
Same.
I mean, I am not going to go and fight a war that is being waged by a bunch of fucking cowards because that's pretty much who our leaders are. Our nation is led by cowards and fight for their cause. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So
Same.
there you go.
Yep.
That's just my 2 cents.
Don't knock eating Tide Pods, Forrest, unless you try it.
Right?
Forrest, you're not eating Tide Pods, are you? Oh, I hope not.
All right, what's the chat saying there? Caitlin says Kool-Aid, hair, and gender-neutral bathrooms. Yeah.
Yep. Facts.
Don't knock eating Tide Pods unless you try it. All right, that's all you, Forrest. I'm good with the Tide Pods there, Bubba.
Yeah, you're right, Pilgrim. Most people would comply, but not us. You got that. You got that right.
Jim Shady says, my personal opinion, America will not exist for the very end. We are, Rome is burning. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I will say about the state of our country right now. Okay, all empires, all civilizations come to an end, and we are near the end. Do I think I will see it in my lifetime? You, Dark Angel, you and I are pretty much close to the same age. I don't know, but I think our kids might. You know,
Yep.
it's sad. You know, I got a grandkid coming. I got another kid of my own on its way. You know, so I am. I'm scared for the future for my children and my grandson. So
Yeah. It's really, really scary out there.
yeah,
There was
I'll
something
be
that kind of upset my family a few months back. My son, he watches my grandson for my daughter, and he took him to the playground. They were playing one day at the elementary school, and these kids were like 10 years old, and the girl was like, "Guess what? I'm a lesbian." And the other girl was like, "I want to be a lesbian." And my son was like so irritated, and like he took him home, and he was like, "Mom, like, what do you do? There's little kids here, and these kids are saying this stuff like it's trendy and it's like it's cool, and you know he doesn't need to be exposed. It is scary. It really is."
It is. And it's a result of of our country losing its identity. Okay.
Yeah.
We have, this might not be the popular opinion, but, I'm not really like a devout person, individual. But our country was founded on Christianity principles, and people have strayed away from that, and
Yep.
I think a lot of it has to do with we have a culture war in this country, and it's a result of our borders, people coming in by the thousands through our borders and just being let in, and they're bringing the culture from. And I know this is sounding like I'm saying it in a bad way, but just bear with me. They're bringing what they know and what they've been through back in whatever home country they came from with them here, and they are ignoring American values and morals. All right.
Yep.
And why do I say that? Well, turn on the news and look what's happening in our cities. You know, our cities are running rampant with crime. There is a lot of news stories out there with immigrants raping women, right? Bringing in drugs and selling drugs and
Prostitution and stuff.
prostitution. I
Yep.
mean, our cities are riddled with fucking drug addicted zombies. I see it on my Twitter feed. I see San Francisco, the Bay Area down there. It looks like a fucking scene from The Walking Dead,
Yep.
because people are so strung out. People are living in tents. Um, and that's the problem. Like, we have a huge immigration problem that's not being policed the right way, and there's nowhere for these people to go. So they're bringing
No.
this they're desperate. They're bringing this criminal mentality with them, and they're committing these crimes. So it's facts, folks. I'm not
Absolutely.
making this shit up.
Pilgrim the cities, yeah, it's way worse than it was before.
You know,
Since you guys are kind of like, we're all from New England, I don't know if you guys know what's going on in Boston with Mass and Cass and all the homeless encampments. And they're having a hard time even get like emergency personnel in there because it's become violent and it's dangerous.
yeah, I saw that, and it's basically happening in every major city throughout this nation. And Jim,
Yep.
you're basically, you nailed exactly what I was trying to articulate, what I was trying to illustrate. They don't come here to be Americans. They come here to make America what they left. Yes, that's pretty much what I was trying to say.
Spot
And
on.
that's the problem. That's the problem. You know. So, guys, with everything being discussed and said tonight, this is all more the reason to prepare, um, and to keep preparing and to keep having that mindset to stay prepared. People are going to call you crazy. They're going to think you're it's far fetched, and let them think that. Let them fucking talk that shit, and just remember, when the shit does hit the fan and things do break bad, when those same people come knocking on your door, looking for food and water and whatever else you have, you can tell them to fucking kick rocks, and you can remind them
Yep.
of all the shit that they talked. All right, this is why we come up here and we talk about this stuff. All right, because this isn't shit that might happen. This is what's going to happen. All right. And all the writing is on the wall. All right. Everything that we discuss on here it's pulled from the headlines. All right. This is stuff that's actually happening. All right. And this is why I prepare. And I'm glad that I know I have one of my children on here that's very um religious about coming on here and supporting me and watching these streams every week, every
Aw.
week, you know, and it makes me happy to know that because she understands what's going to happen, you know, or what's coming, you know. So anyway, folks, if anybody has anything to add, fire away, because we're about to wrap up. What's Dragon Lady say here? Yeah, Dragon Lady. It's, yeah, we all do. We all have those people that we fear for, you know. And I just illustrated that with my own children. So anyway, folks, I thought this was a good chat tonight. We're at an hour, so I'm going to sign off.
This was a great chat. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hang out in the backstage for a couple minutes, and we'll talk
Okay.
after the stream's over.
Okay.
Yeah, Sandy, we're about to sign off, but yeah, catch the replay. All right. Thanks for being here. All right, everybody. Thank you. And I'll catch you guys next week, next Monday night, 9 p.m. Thanks for watching.